Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Jack Reynolds. I'll be helping to moderate. I'd like to introduce Matt Warpinski, Manager of Performance Management at Xtime, and Jade Mitchell, Senior Manager of Performance Management at Dealertrack DMS. Today, Matt and Jade will be walking you all through some of the most useful efficiencies you can leverage when you properly integrate Xtime and Dealertrack DMS. A few housekeeping items before we get started. All attendees have been muted, but if you do have questions throughout the session, please put them in the go-to console on the right-hand side of your screen. At the end of the presentation, we'll take 10 minutes or so for questions. Additionally, we'll send a recording of today's webinar to all attendees once we conclude. You can also find a copy of this presentation in the handouts section of your console. Matt and Jade, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. And we're both excited to be here today. This is the topic that I think every one of us deals with on a daily basis, is how can we be efficient and make those efficiencies drive profitability. So I think we're both excited to share some things with you, and we'll jump right into what we're going to talk about. So today we are going to go through how we can set up technologies to increase employee efficiencies. The more efficient our employees are, the more we can get hitting that bottom line, and the happier they are. Produce consistent and accurate pricing between our technologies. We want to remove the issue of, hey, this estimate didn't match and we're throwing discounts and we're losing money because we don't have things lined up. We want to be able to help increase your effective labor rate, and again, this is all about driving profitability. And some of you guys might be doing everything that we are about to present. Some of you might be doing some things. Somebody might not know anything that we're about to show you, and that's the whole purpose of today, is to bring some light to the things that we can do, and some things that your support team, your performance managers, we can help you with. But again, we've got some great things to review today. So nonetheless, what we'll do, I'm going to jump into the Xtime settings and setups, and then after I am done with Xtime, we're going to have Jade take care of our Dealertrack setups, and we'll round it all out at the end and talk about how this applies to you. So that being said, let's jump into Xtime setups, and this is a conversation that I think a lot of us have had. Catalog opcode validation. It's a mystery. A lot of people don't understand it. I know myself personally, it took me a long time to really understand what the opcode validation screen and functionality was. So we want to try and review this and take some beliefs or misbeliefs or misunderstandings of what we can do in our validation, make it easier for you, right? So what does catalog opcode validation do? What it does is it imports valid opcodes from Dealertrack. It tells us the last date they were used, how much they're used in the last X amount of time, and it filters out. It can help us filter invalid opcodes, and those are the ones that if you look at your workbook and you see that you have an appointment failure and it talks about an opcode, that's what we're trying to avoid. We want everything to flow from one system to the other. And opcode mapping is truly a very big part of that, right? Now, one thing that's not related, okay, it's not necessarily related to opcode validation, but I want to call this out because it's really important. Our support team can hard code pay types to your opcode. So if we want, our oil change opcode, which could be LOF, and that might be assigned to multiple services in Xtime, but we're going to push LOF over to Dealertrack and we want that to hit QL, we can have our support team help with that. All right, so that being said, what we will do here, we're going to jump right in. What I want to do is give you guys kind of a demo of how this is going to look and what you can do to access this. So that being said, here's our catalog screen. And in our catalog screen, you're going to land on the dashboard. You're going to hit your operations tab. You're going to go to the opcode validation screen, okay? Once we get to our opcode validation screen, I want to call out right on the top here, it's going to state the last time we did an opcode validation. So it gives you the date, the time, and again, just kind of the basic layouts of this. On the left-hand side, what you're seeing is the services in your Xtime catalog. This is what we are putting in the online scheduler. This is what your internal staff is seeing when they're making appointments, right? We've got the make, the name of the service, the current opcode that is associated with that service. And again, you can see if we've got an opcode in here that's valid, you can see the usage. And on the right-hand side, we have our Dealertrack DMS, okay? So what we're looking at here is we're pulling the data from Dealertrack, and it's looking at the description, the opcode, any of the information in the opcode, and it's basically doing a best match, right? It's using that information to do a best match suggestion. But if you haven't done this, all you've got to do is hit your validate opcode mapping, And once you've hit that, you're going to have a pop-up box that comes up, and it allows you to select the time frame for those ROs. So if we want to look at roughly the last 2 years of RO opcode data, we can pull that. And all you have to do is hit the validate button. Now, once you've done that, you're going to see a new updated time. Okay. And again, why is this important? We want to utilize this information to help the systems push and pull the right data, right? We don't want appointment failures. We want everything to go through. So what the system is set up for is it'll allow us to look up those invalid opcodes. When we're trying to push a service, if an opcode is not going to push, we can identify those. So this next screen is showing you, once I've filtered to invalid, okay, it is going to show this red exclamation point, because we know this is going to cause an appointment failure, okay? Now, I've got a good example right here. We've got replace key fob battery, okay? I know this, if this is selected on appointment, it's not going to push over. And if I look at the opcode that's currently listed, it's got BATT at the end. Now, when I'm looking at what's in the DMS, I can see that we've got a key fob battery replacement. We've got, it was used on June, so maybe this is a brand new opcode, right? But it's missing that last T, so there's a difference in the opcode. I know this one's not going to work, but this one is a valid one, right? So all I've got to do is hit my little papers, which you can see vanish once you hit it, but once you hit it, on the left-hand side, we have updated the Xtime service with an opcode that we know is going to push over, right? So this is really helpful to make sure we're setting up the opcodes to push. We want to make this easy for your advisors. And if it's not set up properly, you're going to get frustrations. Now, this is in and of itself, one of the easiest things that we can do to help. Now, let's say, for example, we don't see a good opcode on the right-hand side. Again, this is a system suggesting that this could be the right opcode. But if we don't see what we want, this is another thing that I like to show you. Right here, we've got OCM. We know that's a bad opcode. Okay, but there's a little magnifying glass right here. If I click that magnifying glass, I am going to pull up a DMS opcode search, right? So now I am looking directly in Dealertrack to try and determine what could we select. And the system's going to default to best match. So it's looking in the description of the opcodes, the opcode itself, trying to figure out what could be the best, most appropriate opcode to put with that service. You can also select show all, okay? If you show all, we've got a little search function here. You can type in an opcode. If you know the beginning of an opcode, or if you want to look for keywords, put that in and it's going to filter out. And what I like about this, it's going to give us the last used and the usage. So it's pretty easy for us to tell if we have the right opcode, okay? Guys, this is in and of itself opcode validation. This is the basic functionality of it. There's other things that we can use this for. But again, this is one of the most convenient things to pull data from Dealertrack so you can see those opcodes and make sure that they're mapped to the right services. Now this, to me, is huge, guys. We're going to jump into one other thing in our catalog here, Dealertrack catalog parts price integration. This came out about 2 weeks ago. I was so excited to be able to highlight this on our call today. When we think about setting up our catalog, right, this is where our pricing lives. This is where we're quoting prices to our customers. And if we want to use anything other than the MSRP, which is preloaded, right, you can see on this screenshot, I've got my air filters, I've got my part numbers, I've got my on-hand quantity, right? Now this is if you have Spectrum or all of our software, you're going to get that on-hand quantity. But right here, what normally you're going to see is the MSRP, DMS price, and manual. And if I'm a parts manager, I've got to take an Excel file, I've got to type in the part, I've got to type in the price, or I've got to sit and manually go through all these. Now, this button, this wonderful little button, has removed all of that stress for your parts manager. Think about your parts manager sitting in there just typing away, right? I love my old parts manager. I watched him. He was the one finger guy, right? And I think about how much stress that put on him to try and do this. So for me, this is absolutely huge. We can pull over the DMS prices for your parts by pushing this button. And you can see right here, this is the store we did it in. It's a great tool. Now, again, this is going to show us our on-hand parts quantities. If you have Spectrum, the future is going to have everyone, but the reality is simple. This is a great tool to be able to see, are we using the right parts? Do we have them priced properly? Now, why is this great? This is great for calculated service pricing. And that's what I want to call out right here, okay? A lot of dealers out there are going to do a family price. You're going to do my cabin air filters $59.99. My engine air filter is $49.99, right? However, we can use these actual parts prices to stop losing gross profit, right? This is a great example. I know that I'm going to charge 1/10 to every customer and $10 when I replace their air filter, right? My engine air filter is, the labor charge is $10. Doesn't matter the vehicle, right? But that part is different priced on every single engine. We have so many variations, right? If we family price, we lose money. We're discounting, okay? That is why this is crucial. You can see here what we're doing is we're importing the parts and we're putting the right total here. My labor charge is the same. My parts is different. If this store is doing $49.99, we're losing money on every one of these 52s. I mean, it's something that we can gain some of that gross back, okay? Calculated parts and labor pricing is a huge opportunity for dealers, and this is something that's going to make that even easier for you to do. All right, we are going to move on. This is the stuff from our catalog and schedule. We're going to jump into Engage integrations, and there's 3 different sections we're going to look at with Xtime. Engage is our second one, and then we're going to move on to Inspect. But Engage, to me, I feel this is very near and dear to my heart. I love our Engage walk-around process, and I was a huge believer of this when I was on the retail side. It's unbelievable what this can do for your customer's experience. So here's what I need to call out. If you are a Dealertrack and Xtime customer, right, you can add new customers from the tablet. They can drive in, never been to your dealership before. You can put all their information right here in the tablet. It will create them in Dealertrack. We can do an entire walk around at the vehicle. And when you guys think about this, right, we have to start thinking about the psychology of our consumers. In the last couple years, that is so much more front and center because of COVID, right? They're comfortable by that vehicle. They come into the dealership 2 or 3 times a year, right? My wife used to say, you know, when I go to the dealership, I get out and I kind of look around and I don't know if someone's going to help me. I don't know if I should go to a desk. This is what your customers experience every time. So why wouldn't we want to meet them at their car where they're comfortable and do the entire process if we can do it there, right? So again, we can do that whole thing there. We can create the repair order from Engage so that by the time they get back to their desk, that advisor's got that repair order printed, right? And this is a key thing to this too, right? We want to push the right opcodes over to Dealertrack to make it easy. We're going to get authorization on the tablet. You know, that estimate page, we're going to have the customer sign. They don't need to sign that hard copy. You have it right here. It's compliant with OEMs for warranty. So why wouldn't we want to do this? Now, one of the other things that I want to call out is we can also push a singular opcode for our maintenance packages. If you don't want a 30,000 mile service to push an oil change, a tire rotation, a brake inspection, all the different things that 30K pushes as unique individual opcodes, we can do an override where we push a singular 30K opcode over to Dealertrack, right? So there's some different ways that we can make things work in your store, and everybody's different, right? Nobody has the same setups or opcodes. So this is a way that we can help with that. Now, I know that we're talking about Dealertrack and Xtime integrations, but I need to call out, when I talk about an entire walk around from the customer's vehicle, okay, we have amazing Hunter alignment integration. If you've got one of those, the Hunter alignment machines where you drive through it and you get the printout, right, and the advisor's using that to sell in the lane, they can do that right from the tablet, right? We can send them some flex pay options between Summit and Dignify. Ride share, we can schedule a Lyft ride share directly from the tablet. And these are all integrations that allow the advisor to do everything directly from that tablet, right? Now, this is what I need everyone to take a step back and really rethink. How can this liberate your service drive process, okay? Everyone has a vision for what that service drive write-up process is. And if we go out and watch our advisors, it's not happening, okay? Maybe a little bit here, a little bit there, but that's what this can do, is help with process consistency. Now, I say Saturday rapid fire ROs, right? You think about your Saturday, you're gonna have less staff. If I've got one advisor on Saturday, maybe 2, I can have that advisor go out to the vehicle, write up the RO. I've got the other guy dispatching, or I can write up, I mean, I've got a wonderful group out on the West Coast, and I'll talk about some of the statistics that they have, but you know, they're at an average of 3 minutes per check-in, and they're heavy users, right? If I'm an advisor and I can write up 4 cars in 12 minutes, right? I've got 4 ROs created. I don't have to stop production, which is what we need from our technicians is production, right? So Saturday we can do rapid fire ROs. Guys, this is a digital process that customers are getting accustomed to. And I want to share this with you guys. Yesterday I ran out to Subway for lunch. I don't leave hardly ever, but I went out and I grabbed some lunch, and I was paying, and I put my credit card in, and the little credit card machine asked me for a tip at Subway. I've never tipped at Subway before, but as a consumer, I looked at it and I'm like, it's telling me I need to tip. I tipped at Subway because the system asked me to. And now I'm sitting here going, why did I tip at Subway? The whole reason was because it asked me to. And guys, that's what we're trying to get at here. If our advisors are using the tablet to present menus to your customers, they are going to buy more, period, right? They're used to this process. They want to buy from a digital process, okay? And again, what we are doing for our advisors is creating a process that we as managers can find identifiable opportunities. If I've got one guy checking it in at 60%, another guy at 90, and the guy at 90 is adding an extra $100 per RO, now we're talking about why this is justifiable as an advisor to do so. So again, it gives us that reporting and that information to help hold our team accountable. But again, think about this. RO creation is an admin task, and your advisors are hiding behind their desk. And that customer, again, when we think about their experience, that customer is just trying to get their kid from getting run over by the lot kid that's moving the cars up and isn't paying attention. It's not a fun place for your customer to be. They don't want to stand at your desk. So why is this important? And I want to call out some statistics from one of the groups that I work with. They in June, right? In June, they're heavy users. In June, they did $647,000 additional dollars between the appointment and the write-up of that repair order that they sold on that tablet simply by putting that information in front of their customers. They did their check-ins in an average of 2.95 minutes. It's efficient. And this is the best part. The average dollar amount for every customer checked in, and they did almost 70% of their customers between 13 stores. The average dollar amount was $109 additional sales from the appointment to the creation of that RO. And that's something that most softwares can't even track the upsells. Well, we do. And again, this is real life money that we can generate just by following a good process. All right, that's the engage stuff. And again, that stuff to me is huge. It's a huge opportunity. And now we'll jump back into inspect. And we talk about inspect integrations, okay? Add RO lines in Dealertrack with proper opcodes, parts rights back with ASRs, and so does the labor. And guys, when you're adding an ASR in inspect, and you can see in this example, we've got our sway bars. We've got sway bars front and rear. We've got a rattle. We've got an exhaust clamp, and we've got an engine air filter. Now, these were all approved. We've got our labor estimates and our parts estimates here. This system generated all these lines. The advisor had to do nothing. My parts guy had to do nothing. All of these pushed over to those lines just by the advisor hitting thumbs up. And guys, that's something that we've got to understand. If the only thing the advisor has to do is hit thumbs up, and the system's going to add those additional service lines into Dealertrack and those parts as well, that is helping with efficiencies, right? They can move on to that next task. The other thing I want to call out, and again, I think this is something that Jade is going to go into, is that we can push those ASRs to Dealertrack, and we can identify them as MR and QL. Inspect allows us to go in and set up our opcode guide, or our service guide, and we can put our opcodes in, and we can put the service type. If we give this a thumbs up, that's going to push over to Dealertrack using the appropriate service type, right? So when it comes to efficiencies, we're trying to make this as easy as possible for your advisors.
Yeah, and just to step in for a second, Matt. This has to be set up on both sides too, right? Because Xtime, just so everybody knows on the call, it is going to override whatever is set up in Dealertrack when that comes over. So we want to make sure to have these service types for you guys that are separating out, QL and MR, that this is set up in both systems. So just like everything else, it needs to match up so they can talk correctly.
Yep. And that's a great call, Jay. Thank you. It's something that, guys, this is all setups. And again, we can make the systems work smoother and easier. Now, your performance manager can help you with a lot of these items, right? If you want to get your inspect opcode sheet, I would suggest working with your performance manager. They will help you with how it works and how to fill it out. And we can put fixed prices. We can do so much to be efficient. It just is raising your hand and asking for the help. Now, we'll jump into another thing that comes to front and center, guys. We're talking about estimates. And again, Jade's going to get into discounting and how that impacts our bottom line. But if we have a grid in Dealertrack, we can make sure that that grid in Dealertrack is in Xtime, it's in inspect. When we are quoting a job in inspect, we can make sure that the prices match. And so there's never going to be that advisor saying, my estimate didn't match, so I had to discount, right? These are all things we do. And what's great about this is once it's entered into Dealertrack, it's a single support call. Hey, I've got a grid in Dealertrack. Can you copy it over to inspect? And that's all we have to do. You can also let your performance manager know. They will help you with that as well, but it's that simple, guys. Now, the other thing that we got to call out, we have spots in inspect for taxes and shop supplies, right? We want to be as dialed in with our pricing for our advisors as possible. If we don't have taxes and shop supplies updated, again, our estimates aren't going to be right, which is going to open the door for those discounts. Now, the other thing, this is, again, we talk about thinking outside the box, okay? If we have grids in place, we don't necessarily have to have a family price on everything. We can let some of those, you know, let's call it what it is. Let our grid and our matrix parts pricing go through, you know, why not? So just something to think about. Again, getting away from some of that family pricing, we can try and price things according to the vehicle. And that to me is where we can gain a little bit more gross. Now, that being said, another thing that is hot right now, and I've got to get into this, is our service pricing for inspect. And it's something I want to highlight. We've highlighted it on our last webinar, but again, this is something that is Dealertrack specific. It's a great resource. It's all about efficiencies. And this is the foundation for our service pricing guide. One thing I want to share with you guys is the future, right? And the future of Xtime and Dealertrack is a quote tool that is going to allow your advisors to create a quote from a phone call, text it to the customer. They can get that text. There's going to be a link to set the appointment, and all that information is going to push over to DT. And that's what we are envisioning for the future. And I think at NADA next year, you're going to see some amazing things with that specific tool. And in inspect pricing, this functionality is the base for all of that. This is the groundwork, okay? Now, this is going to pull labor times from motors, okay? And you can see in the screenshot here, if I'm a technician and I'm adding brake pads and rotors, I'm getting 1.3. Now, these are all things that we can adjust, but we're trying to make life easier for our technicians. The other thing that's great is you're going to get your parts, your recommended parts with the part numbers. Those are going to pre-populate on the parts side. So the parts counter people are going to be able to look at that part, verify it's the right one, verify the price, and they're done. You know, one of the most recent updates we had is actually adding on-hand quantities. So now as a technician, if I've got a battery and it's because there's a blown alternator, I might have two alternators, one's in stock, one's not. If they both fit the vehicle, now I know which one I should select. We want to get that job done in the same day, right? So there's a lot of different advantages that service pricing for inspect can truly help our parts, our technicians, and our advisors with, okay? It's all about pricing efficiencies and congruency between our two softwares. So again, this is an absolutely awesome thing. We've got a lot of stores signed up for this. We are launching stores here, I believe the end of this month, where inspect pricing is going to go live. So if you have not seen this, please, please, please touch base with your performance manager, ask them for a demo. If you don't know who that is, let us know and we'll make sure you get in touch with them. Now, I've got, we're going to do some fun things on this webinar. We're going to do a poll here. We are going to just kind of put a feeler out there. We want to know, you guys in the audience, are you using labor pricing grids to maximize your gross profit? So we're going to give you guys just a minute here to answer that. And it's amazing what we're seeing. I personally have seen a lot of traction with these labor pricing grids. It makes sense, right? So something I used to do and something that I've seen make a big difference in people's gross profit. We'll give you guys a little bit to answer this question. Jack, do we have the results in for that?
We do, yeah, and you should be seeing them. Apologies if not, but we've got 42% saying yes, they do use pricing grids, and 58% saying no, they do not.
Okay, guys, that's I mean that's split down the middle. I mean that is split, right? If you aren't using pricing grids, it's absolutely something to explore, and I highly suggest it. It really maximizes gross profit, and at the end of the day, that's what this is about. So if you're not using a pricing grid and you want to get some information on that, please, your Dealertrack or Xtime Performance Manager can help you with that. Now, with the conclusion there, what I'm going to do is hand this off to Jade, and he's going to go over our Dealertrack DMS setups.
Thanks, Matt. That was all great stuff. And yeah, for those of you that are not, with that last survey there, that are not using that, please reach out to your performance manager, reach out to Matt or myself. We will be happy to help you guys with that. Because like I said, we are all about, driving more to that bottom line. So we're going to hop right in here. And just, before we do, as you can see, a lot of the things that Matt's covered, a lot of things that I'm going to cover today, right? This is not groundbreaking things that we have to come out and create better, better salespeople and, for our service lanes and all this stuff, right? These are things that the systems will do for you. And if you get your setups right and let these systems work together, it's going to free up time. You're going to be able to monitor your stores better, your employees, and ultimately it's going to affect your bottom line. So we're going to get right in, and as Matt said, things that are near and dear to his heart. This one is very near and dear to mine. So service writer permissions and setups. The three that we have highlighted here are deleting shop supplies, overriding our labor rate, and changing the actual retail amount. So in any world that I live in, and there are one-offs, so before I speak to that or I make somebody mad on the call, there may be that 30-year employee that, service advisor that he's got these permissions because we can trust them. But typically, right, I would never want my service advisors to be able to delete shop supplies, right, to change the labor rate. And a big thing is too, we can't efficiently track that in Dealertrack. We do not have an exception report showing that Matt, for instance, changed the labor rate 16 times this month on these 16 ROs. We would have to go in and search every one. That's not efficient at all. So we need to use discounts for one. But I compare this, almost to sales, right? We're taking money out of our pocket, out of everybody's pockets when we're doing this. And if we've got a truck, sitting on our lot for $50,000, a salesperson can't just walk out there and sell it for 35, right? He doesn't have that ability, right? That authority. So, so on this side, why would we give them this authority? Now, with that being said, we don't want to run a dictatorship, right? But we want to use discounts in our system. We're going to get into that here in just a second, but this is going to allow us to track those things, right? It's not reality to say that we are never going to be able to discount a ticket, right? It's the car business. We're going to have to discount things sometimes too. But when we do, we want to be able to efficiently track these. So on this next slide here, this shows two stores side by side, right? They're both of their door rates are at about 130 an hour. They're both at about 1,200 hours. So that's what we're going to call it. One's at 1,204, one's at 1,187. These are both stores from our current DMS, right? The one on the right has adopted these processes, right? And being able to better monitor our effective labor rate. So this will show you the store on the left is using discounts, but that's not dropping my effective labor rate $40, right? So people are discounting things. And if you compare these side by side, right, almost 30, I forget, is it $31 different at 1,200 hours? That's $40,000 a month, right? And when we set this up too, like I said, when our advisors and our riders, when they know that we're watching, they're going to pay more attention to it too. Maybe I'm not going to take the least path of resistance this time. I'm going to fight for this one a little bit. So, 1,200 hours at $40,000. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of money. So yeah, we just wanted to point that out. But let's get in to setting up these discounts. So on that same page, right, it gives us 3 options here. And this is where we want, you know, in our opinions, all excluding variable, that would be for our service riders, right? We want to give them all those discounts that we set up that are not variable. The variable discount, whether that's $500, whether that's $800, that's something that I would just want our manager or our fixed ops director to be able to do. That, hey, we're going to go in and knock $200 off this ticket. I do not want to give that ability to one of my service advisors, right? So we can narrow this down, right? So when now the system's handling all these things for us. So talking about discounts, we're going to do another poll here real quick. How many of you on this call are effectively using discounts at your dealership? And as it says here, right, we take full advantage of it. I think we are, or we don't. So we'll give you just a second to answer this. Okay, and that is, I mean, that's great to see. 55% they take full advantage of this feature. 26% I think we are, and the 19% we don't utilize this. So we've got, you know, we've got 45% of people on here that, you know, that I would be reaching out to your performance manager today. Like I said, if you don't know who that is, my contact information will be at the end. We'll be happy to help you because this is going to make your guys' jobs easier, right? And you can worry about the fun things that you have to worry about in a dealership every day anyway. And we, you know, we've sat there, we get it. So if the system can help both of these working together, let them. So setting up those discounts, right? We've got quite a few people on this call that don't use these, or they think they are. So there's 4 types. Actual retail value, I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Dollar discount, you know, for example, if GM is sending out those coupons, a $5, a $10, or a $15, we can set those up separate, right? And now we're not on our calculators trying to figure stuff up, anything like that. We have to equip our people. If we're going to take away, right, those permissions for them, we have to make sure that our people are equipped to be able to still do their jobs in an efficient way. So on the dollar discounts, percentage discounts, you know, that's an internal decision, right? 10%, 5% for military, our teachers, our police officers, you know, that's going to depend on where you guys are located at and what you want to do. But we can set as many of those up as you want. And then the variable, like I said, that's what we're going to want to limit to our fixed ops director or our manager, you know, in those special situations. So I want to point out some other things with this actual retail value discount, right? So not only, you know, can we do the percentages and, you know, the coupons and everything like that, but I love this feature because now if we're going to run an oil change special for July, right, and it's $19.95, I can set my dates up when I do this to where it's going to expire at the end of the month and nobody's going to be able to use this after July 31st. The next line down, that discount, right? We can make sure that this discount only goes to a single opcode, right? So if it was LOF or, you know, LOFS, whatever you guys use in your store, we can drive it just to that. So they can't use this for anything else. Now I put that amount in at $19.95 and I can put a maximum in there. And then also too, I can allocate this, right? If I've got service managers on their phone, they would not want the 60-40 on there. Typically it's 50-50, but we did want to show you guys that you do have that ability to do it. And another thing, this, you know, when somebody comes in for that $19.95 oil change, I don't have my advisor on the calculator, you know, trying to figure out discounting parts, discounting labor, trying to get to that $19.95. I apply the discount, it takes care of it for me. And another big thing, and we're going to get to in a second, is now I can track these discounts, right? How successful was I on this oil change, right? This special that I ran this month.
Yeah, and Jay, you know, I got to jump in here too. I think about with Xtime, if you've got our invite marketing, right, and we're putting out campaigns, how much easier would it be for your advisors to have the discount set up to match the invite campaigns? So now, again, talking about congruency between systems, we never have to give them something that they should discount improperly, right? We're matching everything up. So I think that, again, this is a huge feature, and we can make it easy for our staff.
Absolutely, Matt. That is a great point. And so once we have these set up, right, now we can track these. As we said earlier, we don't have an exception report, right? So, but we do have a service writer discounts used report, right? Now we've got transparency. I can run a quick report, see what's happening, you know, in my department. I can track those schedules, or I'm sorry, the specials that we're running, and we're kind of letting the DMS do it for us, right? Let it take this off your shoulder so you can worry about other things. And on this report here, I've got it in text format, but you can put this in Excel, CSV file, so you can sort this however you want. It breaks it down by the date, our totals, our RO number, the customer name, the service writer, what discount we use, and for how much. So this, to me, is a heck of a lot more efficient, right, than guessing. But now, and it's going to run it by service writer. So if I've got a guy that's, you know, that's getting out of control a little bit, I can see that now. I don't have to dig for it. It's a couple clicks and we run a report. So like I said, if you guys need help with that, once again, reach out to your performance manager. If you don't have one or don't know who that is, you can get with us after the call as well. So moving on to something different now, and Matt and I already touched on this a little bit, but we just want to ask you guys, are you separating mechanical repair and quick lane within your store? This does not have to be an like you don't have to have an off-site oil change, for this to, to work. It's within the store. And we'll just give you guys just a bit to answer that. About the same as last time. So we've got close to half, we try to, they don't see the benefits in doing it, and they, 53% do. So let's jump right into this and let's talk about some of the benefits to this, right? One, I'm going to get more accurate reporting, and that way I can manage my true effective labor rate, right? If I'm not separating these out in the system, then how do I know what my true effective labor rate is? I don't. I've got all these maintenance items, all this discounted labor. I don't know what I'm really getting on that mechanical repair, right? And if we don't know what we're getting, how are we going to improve it? How are we going to discover our problems? We can't. So, and it's easy to do too. This is also very helpful when it comes to warranty rate increases, right? I can run those numbers, run those ROs right back out of mechanical repair. I'm not having to pull all and sort through my maintenance items as well, because most OEMs will let us pull that out. And two, we don't want to affect how our employees are doing their day-to-day business, right? I don't want to have to change my whole process in the store. And if the setups are right, we don't have to change anything at all. And two, this does not have to affect accounting. It can. When we create this quick lane, right, it can affect accounting. We can bring in new accounting numbers, or we can't. But now when we're reporting, right, and I'm running that labor profit analysis, I can see where my true effective labor rate is, right? I ran this one by mechanical repair. Their door rate is over 180 an hour. We're at 146. I've only got $2,800 in discounts. That tells me a couple things. We're not using discounts effectively. And two, I know I'm going to have, maintenance items here. I'm going to have those oil changes, those tire rotations. That's going to affect that number. I can't track it, right? So how do we know how we're going to get there. So let's talk about one easy way. Once we set this up, and as Matt said, we're going to have to set this up on the Xtime side as well, right? Because it's going to override whatever comes into Dealertrack. But at the bottom here, default service type, right? I can direct that service, this labor opcode, to QL. So anytime, typically the habit of my advisors, my riders is going to be when they're opening that ticket, they're going to type in LOFS and they're going to move on. So we're not changing how they're doing things, right? They're just typing in LOFS still, and it's driving that to QL now. So like I said, now when I'm running those reports, I can separate this stuff up. For you managers on the call, I'm sure that we've had the excuses of why is your effective labor rate so low? And the advisors say, well, I did 55 oil changes this month. This takes that away, right? Now I can separate that and say, I'm not running it. I'm not, I didn't run your oil changes. I ran it just mechanical repair. But going back even farther, we're not even really going to have to ask them, because we're going to know, as to be able to separate this stuff out and then run that the discount report. We know what's going on, right? The system is doing this for us, right? And just to go back to what Matt said as well, and he pointed this out, we've got to make sure that those codes, those labor op codes, match. If not, it's going to be an appointment failure. So, but there's an easy way, right? Next time to run that report to see what's not matching up. And then two, I just wanted to point out, if you guys are going to implement some of this stuff in your stores, this is a great time to clean up your labor op codes too, right? If you came from another DMS and there's all kinds of wild numbers, all that fun stuff in there, you can clean those up. We can make new ones. In Dealertrack, one thing I love about it is you don't have to have a certain code number in there unless it's required by the manufacturer, to put a labor op code in, right? You can put oil change in there if you want to, but if it'll fit in the text. So like I said, but if you want to clean these up, mark them inactive, uncheck that box that's pointed there. And then if you accidentally do one, it's very easy just to add it back in. Matt went over this earlier too. It seems like maybe a lot of people, not a ton of people, are using labor price grids. Man, this is a great way to just maximize gross profit. And as Matt said, this has got to match up from Xtime and DMS as well. So one pain point, and I'll just point it out right now on the call, right? We're always transparent, is the first time you put this in Dealertrack, it does have to be manually entered, but it just has to be manually entered one time. This is something that your PM will help you with. I will help you with. It's really just plugging in a bunch of numbers and say, Jade, I've got to plug in, 100 numbers. Yes, you do. But after we do it that one time, right, we can take that, we can send that over to Xtime through a support case, right? They can get that transferred over. And then at that Recalculate Copy Box that was on that previous screen, once we have this in MR customer pay for Toyota at skill level A, we can just keep copying that into our different skill sets and everything like that. So like I said, it takes a little bit the first time, but once you got it in there, and if you need help doing that, once again, reach out to your PM. That's something that we will definitely help with as well. On this next slide here, we just kind of wanted to point this out, and this is actual numbers from a store, right? By separating these things out, by tracking our discounts, right? If our advisors know that we are watching them now, and they can't just go in and change it from 125 to 110, now we're watching those discounts, these numbers are going to go up, right? So if you see this store, right, 800 hours, that's not a ton of hours, not discounting them any, but right, some do less, some do more, but just raising this $19 an hour, right? Now we're tracking this stuff, our setups, our systems working right. We've got 15,000 more in sales a month. We've got almost 100, we got over 180 annual sales, right? And I didn't even change this gross profit percentage line, but we know if our effective labor rate's going up, that's going to go up too. But just on 800 hours a month, we're at 110 of 125, which we want to be higher than that even. But that's $11,000 in profit a month, 137 in gross profit a year. I mean, and we did this light just to show you the impact that this can make on your store. And once again, we're talking about setups. You know, I mean, that's it. And making sure these systems are talking, and make sure that you guys are getting the value and the capabilities of both of these great systems working together, right? So we're going to just do a quick recap here. I'll let Matt take back over.
Thanks, Jade. Appreciate all the insight that you had there. And again, we've got a lot of stuff that we've gone through, so we'll just give you guys a brief recap. I know that we've got some questions out there to try and help with. So from the Xtime side, right, we want to specifically make sure that we are mirroring opcodes and pricing. We do it in the catalog. We want to do it in inspect. We want to make these things as congruent as possible. I'm challenging you all to revisit your write-up process. Is it a digital process that your customer is acclimated to with our current societal, I mean, with what we do, what we see every single day because of COVID, right? Do we have a process that mimics and really reflects what they're looking for? Push added services properly to Dealertrack. Again, this is all push-pull. If we can make it simple and easy, we're creating efficiencies. We can get more done in a day. And use labor grids, taxes, shop supplies for accurate estimates.
Yeah, and just to go, just a quick overview of the DMS side, guys. Our service writer permissions and setups, right? Tracking and utilizing those discount reports, making sure our labor opcodes are set up right, make sure we got that grid pricing in there and that it's matching up, you know, with Xtime, and tracking tracking our true effective labor rate. And guys, you know, you always hear the term of, you know, football is a game of inches. I mean, so is the car business right here, right? And there's more focus on fixed ops than ever, right? The inventory issues that we've got going on, right? And you know, on the variable side of things, and they're making great money, right? I mean, that's a great thing, but everything that we're pointing out on this page, these are the inches, right? These are the things that can help move your store. And we would be excited, honored to help, you know, help get this going in any of your guys' stores. And just once again, if you don't have a PM on the DMS side, or you don't know who your PM is for either product, please reach out to me and Matt, and we'll make sure and get on that as well. And I think we're just going to jump in just to see if we have any questions right now.
Yeah, so before we get into questions, I just want to remind everybody, in case you joined late, if you do have questions, you can enter them in the GoToWebinar console on the right-hand side of your screen. We've only got a few minutes left, but hopefully we can get to all of them. First one here, this is for, this came up during the Dealertrack catalog parts price integration slide. What if it says menu only?
Menu only. That I guess I'd want to take a look at the menu only there. I'm not sure what that's referencing. If there's a specific person that came from, and you can get me in touch with them, I'll follow up directly just to make sure we're on the same page.
Sounds good. I'll get that over to you. I know there's not a lot of context there. Another one that came up on the exact same slide. What is the ETA for the parts price integration?
Oh, that if you have Spectrum, that is absolutely live. It just needs to be enabled. You can reach out to your performance manager or support. They can enable that in your store currently. If you are a Dealertrack store that has, schedule and inspect.
All right. Now these two came up during the inspect integration slide. If there's not an opcode for ASR, can it assign a skill in Dealertrack when it writes back?
Yeah, it should be able to. It should be doing that as is. If we don't have an opcode assigned, it's going to use your undefined asterisk opcode, and it's still going to use the calculations that are on that line in inspect. So that should all be populating properly. Again, if there's anything that's not, that would be where we want you to raise your hand and say, hey, I'm having an issue with this, either with your support team or a performance manager, but those should all push. Again, if you do not have an opcode associated with an inspect service, it's going to push the undefined asterisks over to Dealertrack. So that's another reason why we want to get those opcodes assigned. And again, inspect service pricing, that's going to alleviate a lot of that stuff as well.
Thanks, Matt. Next one here, pertaining to the same topic. Are there plans to make the labor times easier to find? We have a lot of trouble with the line technician select. We have a lot of trouble with the line the technician selects, returning no labor times.
That's all in the setups, so that is absolutely something we can help you with. If there are, for example, if I've got a brake job and it's paying my technician 1.5 hours, we can pre-populate all of those things so that it's going to pre-populate the labor, the time, and then it goes to the parts department to get those individual parts. I mean, call it what it is. Brakes are going to be all over, tires are going to be all over, but we're always going to charge roughly the same amount of labor, same hours. So those are all things that your performance manager can help you with on the inspect. It's a service, it's custom service guide opcode sheet, and they can absolutely walk you through that. We can send you guys the spreadsheet, teach you how to use it. You send it back to us, we upload it, and all those prices are there.
All right, this one's a little more general. So this client says they're just implementing Xtime, and they're wondering if their performance manager from Xtime is the same as their DMS performance manager.
I'm sorry, what was the end of that there, Jack? I apologize.
No, it will not be.
Okay.
But I will speak to that. We speak daily. So we work very closely with Xtime. So it's every single day, and even Matt and I, we have some of the same clients. We're hopping on calls and figuring things out. So it will be a different person, but we're still on the same team. We can jump in and help, on multiple issues.
Yeah, and Jade, speaking to the broader subject there, one of the things that Cox has done in the last few years is really trying to align our software solutions together, right? And Dealertrack and Xtime are more closely aligned than ever before. We share a director. We have the management team working so closely together. There are things that we have been able to address and adjust with our integrations just from that realignment. And so, guys, we know that we can do things and do things great for you, and it happens when we're better together, which is kind of our theme right now.
All right, next question here. Is Dealertrack ever going to allow more than one discount per RO?
It is on the roadmap. I can't give you a time frame from that, but we do hear that. It's on the top of our list from the performance management team. So I can't speak to when that will happen, but I will tell you that we hear that all the time, and we're kind of the voice of the dealer, for you guys, and we are trying very hard for that one.
Thanks, Jade. You mentioned warranty rate increases. Does the DMS provide any specific reports for that?
Yes, actually it does. Yeah, under service, under your service tab, under the report section, I don't remember the number of the tile, maybe 24. If you scroll down to the bottom of that page, like I said, service reporting, scroll down to the bottom, there is a warranty increase report in there to print out. That's very helpful. We have dealers use it all the time. If you have any trouble finding that, just shoot me a quick email after this. We'll have it up on the screen in a second. I'll be happy to help. Happy to walk you through that.
I will take one more here since we're a little short on time. Will we ever be able to reopen a closed RO to fix a price adjustment, or will we have to void it out and redo the RO?
Yeah, I don't ever see that changing on the Dealertrack side. It's once it's closed. We just always recommend. We do have delayed close. To get the customers out of there and fix any stuff. For warranties that we need to. If not, really the best practice is create an offsetting RO. That way our numbers line up still and our reporting's correct as far as like the labor profit analysis goes and things like that. But not to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't see that ever changing.
All right, well, with the little bit of time we have left, I think we should go ahead and wrap up. So thank you both for an informative session. I certainly hope everybody found today helpful. As always, we appreciate your attendance and encourage you to reach out to our team if you have additional questions. Jade, Matt, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I personally thank you for taking time. I know that in a day there's not enough. I've put in support requests to try and find more time in the day, and I don't know who to send that to, but we appreciate you taking time to come and jump on this webinar. And hopefully there's some things that you can take away. And again, a lot of this stuff goes back to working with your performance manager. We're here to help. We're happy to help. You've got Jade and my information right on the screen here. So if you don't know who it is, don't hesitate. Give us a call, shoot us an email. And again, I think both of us can say that we enjoyed our time. Hopefully there was something you guys were able to take away from this.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. If there's anything that we can do, just let us know. And we're here to help you guys. Like my dad always told me growing up in the car business, God loves gross. So let's figure out more ways to get it. That's what we're here to help you with. So hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time.